Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from, and whichever the time zone you are in. This is Dinesh, Director of IT Service and Delivery here at TechGrid. Welcome to TechGrid Talks, our monthly webinar series where we explore the latest tools, technologies, and frameworks that are shaping the software development landscape that we are currently in. Uh, Today is all about identity management. I know it is not exactly dinner party conversation, but it is one of the most important aspect of IT in any organization. We have a new sheriff in town, SCIM, SCIM, System for Cross Domain Identity Management, to talk all about the intricacies of SCIM, what are the benefits and limitations. We have Ashok Kota. Ashok Kota is the technology lead at Tagret. He has more than a decade of experience developing applications that work at scale. Thanks, Ashok, for joining us today. One last thing before I hand it over to Ashok. Please use LinkedIn chat as well as Zoom chat, whatever that you can, to post any comments or any questions, whatever that makes interactive the session. So, Ashok, please take it away.
Hi everyone, good evening, good morning. I'm Ashok Kota. I'm working as a development lead with .NET and React as a core skill. Okay. Today I will share valuable insight about the SCIM. Okay. Let me give a second. I will start sharing my screen.
Ashok, I can already see your screen.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the what is exactly we are going to talk about today on the this webinar. Okay, we are going to talk about how identity management works. Okay, what is SCIM, an overview of SCIM, how SCIM can fit of any enterprise application. Okay, with including like a increase the security and user experience. That is what we are going to talk about the today's webinar. Okay, let me let's talk about what is exactly the identity management. Okay, how it works, what are the advantage and everything on this current slide. Okay, so identity management is very simple. Whenever user trying to access any of the application, okay, we have to restrict the user because application will have a sensible data. We have to identify whether the user is like have the access to access the data or not. So that is the reason we have identity management. Okay, there are different way to identify the users. Very simple username and password or mobile number, or we can go with a single sign-on, multi-factor authentication. So how this is all about the identity management. Simply, I will explain what exactly happens. Okay, example, I'm a user. I want to access any application. The application will identify whether I'm a, you accessible or not, that application. So there we have identity platform will come. Whenever I try to access the application, identity platform will trigger. It will validate I'm a authenticated user or not. Then there is the other options will have successfully authenticated. Then it will application will be accessible. In the identity management, we have single sign-on. Like example, any application want to integrate with the Google authentication or LinkedIn authentication, GitHub authentication, Microsoft authentication, they can do with the single sign-on. That is SSO we call it. Then we have a different authentication called MFA. It's a multi-layer authentication. This is all about identity management.
So, Ashok, just to be on the same page and for the
Yes.
audience, right? What are some of the uh, standard protocols or the open protocols we have for IAM?
Okay. So standard protocols we have in IAM like OAuth 2.2, which work on the token-based authentication. Okay. We have
Hmm.
OpenID Connect, OIDC, which we use generally on the single sign-on. Okay, same way we have SAML as well, which also we use for single sign-on, but it we use mostly on the enterprise level application.
Okay.
Okay, these are
Hmm.
the open protocol. We have the protocols. Okay, different protocols. Also, I just want to add like what are the key components we have in the identity management. Okay, we have a key components like identity repository. The identity repository means whether we can use our own local database for the identity protocol, or you can use the Microsoft AD or any other supporting ADs. We can use it. Then we have a authentication components. That is the main component where we authenticate the user, whether the user is having the access or not. Okay, then we have authorization protocol. Authorization protocol is very simple example. One organization is having a different departments. One is HR department, one is financial department, admin department, IT department. Everyone will not have the access for each and every all the data, right? We have to restrict each department will access only the respective data. That is the reason we go with authorization. Then single sign-on SSO. There is a separate topic we can have someday, but it's a very simple. We are going to give a single sign-on option. Okay, it's a whether it's a Google, Facebook, or when then we have MFA, multi-factor authentication for more security purpose. We'll do that. Then we have a federations also there. What is this is if we are using Microsoft or Google, for that, those are the identity providers we are using. We can connect with identity providers with our existing IAM. Okay.
Ashok, what you have been saying, uh, like some of the advantages of IAM is that
Yes.
simple user management and then
Yes.
scalability and everything. But I see on your slide, some of the things
Yes.
that you mentioned are complex user lifecycle
Yes.
management and
Yes.
costly maintenance. I mean, are
Yes.
these the benefits of the limitations? What exactly are we talking about within IAM here?
So what exactly IAM happens like whenever the users are added into any of the organization, if you want to use any SaaS product, you want to add, if you want to give access to those users into a SaaS product. Example, we are using a Slack as one of the organization using a Slack. As a onboarding, what we do first, we onboard the employee into our organization. Then same employee we will add into a Slack as well. Okay, so that what happens, HR department or IT department have to do manually lot of work. There will be a cost, will like time consumption will happen. These all things will be affecting the entire process.
Mm, that's definitely true. These are the issues that we faced as well.
Yes,
Guilty as charged. I do leave some users around whenever we are using Figma or Slack or
yes,
Jira. There are some users that already left the organization, but I forgot to take them uh,
yes,
out from that particular application, and then the license cost ran up. But
yes,
when you're, I think the meatier part of this one, right? When you're, if you
yeah,
talk about the SCIM, how does
yes.
SCIM exactly like resolve these issues that we have with the traditional IAM?
Okay, just can let me give the like what are the overview of SCIM. Then we'll talk more about the insights. Okay, the SCIM, the simple definition of SCIM is this: this is a standardized protocol that automates the user management. Okay, across the platforms. Simple, it will manage the user management. If you have an organization, if you are using any SaaS platform, it will manage the user management both. We don't need to do the auto manually. Okay, we have a key, some of the key components. What protocol it works? It's a RESTful protocol. Okay, it works on simple key components. The skin system is defined with some key points. We have to follow those key points to implement the skin. Example, it's entirely the RESTful APIs. Okay, it works in the HTTP methods. Okay, it's having the standards endpoints, API endpoints. We have to use standardized endpoints. Okay, and they have a defined JSON payload. This is what the overview of SCIM.
Okay. And if I understand correctly, right, when I see
Yes,
the picture over there, uh,
yes,
is it going to be a replacement? Because this is a $1 million question. Because if we are
yes,
replacing the additional IAM that we already built
yeah,
in out, that's a nightmare scenario, right? Are we replacing it,
yes.
or is it a layer on top of the traditional IAM we
It,
already have?
it's a really good question. So I just give an example of this that showing the risk diagram and what exactly happened. Our application is already ready. Okay, existing application already there is authentication is happening, authorization happening, everything working fine. We will not touch anything on the existing application. What we will do is exactly we will create our custom SCIM system application, separate plugin application. Okay, this SCIM will connect with any service provider, any identity provider, get the data, add into existing identity provider. Existing identity management will add it. It will not replace the identity management, existing identity management, just add on it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's a relief. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me like give some of the benefits or what exactly the highlights of the scheme. Okay. If I go in that way, Okay. One is security. Okay. The security means we are getting the data from user's identity provider. So there won't be any delay in the identity provider. And whenever we are connecting with the user identity provider, we are doing with the token-based authentication OAuth 2.0. Okay, so there won't be any user. One more is user consistency across the platform. If we are maintaining, if the company is maintaining their own data, that will be synced with all other SaaS platform, whichever they implemented. Okay,
Okay.
and it's also like when we go with enterprise application, right, compliances are very important. We have to follow the GDPR rules, we have to follow the HIPAA. Okay, so for this we are not doing extra anything on the scheme or on our application, because we are just getting the data from organization, because that is already they collected. We are getting just their information, we are not getting any more information from the users. Okay, and this is a very simple integration. All the major IDPs and the service providers, they are supporting it, and it's a scalable. Whenever we are increasing the user level, automatically those will go to the scheme and respect to SaaS product, so there won't be anything. And one more, the big one is we are going to reduce the risk of human error. That is what you mentioned, right? Sometimes you forward to like remove the some of the users, the license will be increased. That part we are going to uh, that those are the really great benefits from the scheme.
Okay. I think looks like everything is revolving around the user provisioning and deprovisioning, if I understand correctly. Like, how
Yes,
do we make that simple so that it will be cost effective for everyone?
yes. So
Okay.
for that, I have a very good example. Okay, the slide which will explain the exactly how the user provisioning will happen. Okay, this user provisioning, how exactly happens. Example, we build the our own scheme system, and we configure the scheme into one of the identity provider. Example, in this scenario, we will take Microsoft Entra. Okay, how this configuration happens, I will show the real time. Going to portal and show that one. So what I'm example, imagine we already configured scheme into a Microsoft Entra in this scenario. Okay, whenever we are onboarding any of our employee into Microsoft Entra, that will be immediately triggered into a it will trigger a one post event, post user event, whichever scheme system we already implement. Example, in our scenario, you can take as a Slack. Okay, whenever we onboarding any employee into Microsoft Entra, it will be immediately created into a Slack. Same way, whenever we are removing any of the users from the Entra, that will be updated immediately with the licensing or whatever the users data in the Slack. Okay, tomorrow morning, an example. Today, we are telling the this employee is with the particular role, HR department. Okay, tomorrow morning we are moving this HR department to a next level. That updation is also happening. That is also we can update into a Slack or whatever the supporting SaaS products. This is what all about the provisioning of user provisioning.
So, Ashok, but isn't that how do you handle the security here? I mean, it looks like when you are pushing your users
Yes,
from your Microsoft Entra to Slack or somewhere, right? You are taking that sensitive data, either the
yes,
name or email or phone number.
yes, yes.
How do you make sure that the data is secure there?
So as I mentioned, we are going with OAuth 2.0 token-based authentication. Whenever we already developed this scheme system. In that scheme system, for each employer, each organization, we'll have a specific token in our database. So whenever we configure in the portal, in the Azure portal, we will mention with the API URL with the token. So whenever the post event happens, with the authentication token will come. We will validate whether the whatever the information coming from the Azure Entra, is it correct or not with the token. Validating the token, we have a TLS protocol, HTTPS protocol, we are following it, and everything is, and these are the HTTP RESTful APIs and HTTP methods we are following it. So that will handle everything in that part.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay. So to explain the this entire scheme in a case study. One of the recently we did one of the case study for one of our uh, client. Okay, I explained what we did. Okay, how we implemented, what are the use case we did. Let me explain that. Okay, okay. So what exactly what exactly the problem we solve? Okay, our construction client offering a SaaS platform. Okay, that SaaS platform we are having a licenses and user management. Okay. Whenever any of the organization, they want to onboard their employees, they have to same way they have to manage into their organization. Again, they have to come to the this construction SaaS platform. They have to add the employer. Again, they have to do the licensing one. So this is everything is happening as a manual. Okay, this entire manual process we want to remove it. Okay, sometimes what happens, employee left from the organization, but that license is still exist in the SaaS platform, and they have to purchase more licenses every time. Okay, that is not matching. For that, we came up with this scheme solution for them, and how this exactly we implemented on top of the existing IR. We didn't change anything on the existing flow. We just added the new top of that. We just added this skill. Okay, let me explain the skill. What exactly happens? They have existing flow. They have admins, they add the users, then it will come to their respective identity management and they save into a database with the license and everything. Okay. So we created a specially custom scheme system that is configured into one of their identity provider. Okay. I will explain how this will happen. Identity provider. Then whenever the first time when we add the identity provider those configuration, we have directly sync all the users into our system. What happens? The sync happens, all the users will come to the scheme system. From there, we have a custom logic that will add a user management, one user to user management, as well as it will tag with a user's license in the database. Okay,
So how,
so
but
say,
isn't that a risk, and how do you handle, I mean, this, when you are saying sync, right? Does it happen
yes,
like what happens with an organization of 10,000 users, right?
yes.
How does this layer handle, your SCIM layer handle those many users?
So in the scheme, we have an option to get the bulk users or individual users. Okay, when comes a bulk user, in the scheme, we will handle them as a one by one. We'll take those all the data and we will add to the identity provider one by one. Okay, when it's coming as individually, we'll directly handle them and we'll keep it in the identity management and database. Okay, this is what like the solution we provided to them and it's working now. Okay, and I just give an example how to do the configurations, how to do the configurations and how the how the Azure portal looks. Let me give an example of that. Like we have already created one of the enterprise application. Okay, so example. Okay, there is an option called provisioning here. Okay, okay. If you edit the provisioning, if you edit the provisioning, you will see all the configuration. What the configuration we are doing? We are providing the our scheme wherever we deployed that URL. We are providing scheme URL. Okay, then we are providing this is the main thing which we thought of the security. This is the token. This is the token we are going to use for the OAuth 2.0 token-based authentication. Okay, once we do the configuration, we can test it. Okay, once we do the testing, there is an option called start provisioning. Okay, initially we have to start the provisioning. When we start initially the provisioning, for that time, how many users are there? We can that will be synced directly to the our scheme system. From there, it will go to the respective SaaS product. Okay. After that, if any users are added, that will be directly synced with the scheme system as well as the SaaS product. Okay. This is how we can do the configuration.
How do you, I mean, for example, there might be tools that not everyone in the organization needs access to. How do you manage? How do you segregate people into different groups? Is there an
Yes.
option?
For that, we have a groups. What we can do is we can create a different groups, like example, HR groups, admin group, and financial group. Okay, we can create a groups. Okay, what happens when we create a groups?
Mhm.
Same way, these groups will be synced with this scheme system. There we can handle each group will have a different roles. Example, group one, example, HR will have only access to HR related functionalities. Same way, admin. So that we can handle with the role-based authentication. The groups can be managed with the role-based authentication.
Mhm. But how do you handle? I mean, you're talking about syncing the users and the groups to the third-party cloud applications, right? Like,
Yes.
what if there are inconsistencies? How do you do the error handling on those particular scenarios? If it-
So one point coming to the error handling, there is a two different ways to that can be error handling. Example, we are sending the syncing system is happening. Okay, example, there is a new user is added in our Azure. Okay, in this system, if you can, the new user is added to Azure. The same time, my SCIM system is down for some reasons.
Mhm.
Okay, at that time the user will not be added. So what we can have in our SCIM system or our SaaS product, what we can say, whenever the new users, whenever this type of errors comes, we can have a uh, error handling option. Okay, what we can do is we can reprovisioning them. There are option called reprovisioning. When we go to the provisioning option, give me a second. Okay, there is a restart the provisioning. What happened? This will bring all the users again the sync, but this time only the which are not synced, we will take those things and we'll update them into our system.
Got it.
This is all about the how to configure and what the case study we did. Okay, this is all about that one. Okay.
Can we see anything that the you talked about the layer, right, Ashok? You wrote a layer on top of already the existing traditional IAM. Can we look into like layer how the API calls happen
Yes.
beneath
Okay.
code?
We written the our existing scheme sample code for the demo in the .NET. Okay. I will explain how the user management will look in the code wise. Okay. Okay. This is my controller. Okay. Users controller where we have a predefined HTTP requests are there. Example, create, get user ID, or get user, and update user and delete users. These are predefined structure. The scheme mentioned to do that there. The properties, the attributes or methods, everything we have to follow the same their schema. This is what it looks like. So what in this what we are doing? This is the we added a custom authorization, okay, token based authorization, where we are checking whatever the token is coming, is the token is authenticated or not with our system. Then only we will
Makes
go
sense.
into the controller and then only we will allow the user to allow the get those user data and insert into our SaaS platform.
And how do you handle roles from there? Is there anything you update the roles or
So what
uh,
happens if you want to do a role based authorization? Okay, we have a groups
mhm,
roles in the SaaS application. Okay, in the groups, we have a groups in the our Microsoft Entra example. Okay, Azure portal. Those groups we can consider as roles in the SaaS application. So first we'll create a groups into roles and we'll assign those users into roles. And in our system, we can manage them as a authorization purpose.
and Ashok, one of the things that you also talked about, right? I mean, previously, and even in your code, uh, you're essentially mapping users from one
Yes,
place to another, right? Like,
yes, yes,
how do you manage it? For example, if we talked about Slack or Figma or
yes,
Zoom or anything, right?
yes,
If they're not expecting, or if they're expecting some attribute that is not available due to space.
yes.
So
So
how do
example I will do. This is a Microsoft Intra. Okay, they are telling these are the my properties. Microsoft Entra telling these are the my properties. But Slack is expecting a different properties. So in our custom scheme, we have to map them individually. Okay, this is coming from Microsoft. Then we have to map them into a, if we are mapping to a Slack, okay, these are properties we have to map. We have to map manually then. Okay, the mapping should be done in the manually. Then that will be continued on.
Sounds good. Sounds good. This is all well and good on the technical side. Meanwhile, people who are on the live, if you have any questions, please do post it in the
Yes.
comments. But
Yeah.
Ashok, one question, right? Like, how do you decide, for example, if I'm building an SaaS application myself, how do I decide whether do I have to do SCIM now or at all or in future? How do I make that decision from a technical
There,
standpoint?
there are two things we can consider. Okay. One, we have to understand the whatever the SaaS application we are creating, who are the users. Example, we know in front, we know all the organization employees are going to use the whatever the SaaS platform we are creating. Then we have to integrate the scheme at the starting onwards. That is the best approach. Okay. There is another case when we are developing a any applications, SaaS application, we don't know what type of users will come in future. But initially, we know only admins or HR going to use it. That time, we don't think we have to implement the scheme. But best way we can do immediately and that time. Just imagine tomorrow morning there is a new features are going to come, which are going to be useful for all the employees also. There is a huge user base is coming from the one organization. Okay, then we can go with the scheme.
Mhm. So you're saying, I mean, since there is some upfront developer efforts that are
Yes,
needed to write the SCIM layer,
yes, yes,
so do it only if it's necessary, if there are large number of users.
yes,
And,
yes.
okay,
And
okay,
this is we can separately make it. It's not required to integrate with our existing SaaS applications. We can. This is a plug and play application. We can make it.
okay, okay.
So that can be just a work with our existing SaaS application.
Sounds good. But I do have one question from the comments, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
besides Microsoft Entra, what are the leading vendors of SCIM solutions? Is it only for Microsoft Entra or
Okay.
any others?
So if I give a simple example, we have a Google, we have Okta. Okay. So we in the construction domain we have Autodesk. Those all already provide the skin system. Yeah.
Okay. Is the SCIM, the other question from the comments is that is this SCIM protocol, is it open source? Is it free? Are there any costs involved in
It's a
writing this?
open source protocol. It's a simply open source protocol. Anybody can follow the existing existing key points they mentioned. What I mentioned, very simple key points like it should be RESTful API, it should be HTTP methods, and say JSON payload. They have to follow it. Then they can make it any. It's a open source. Anybody can make it any technology. It's not only on the .NET, or they can. It's a technology open, and it's open source. We can do that.
Okay, it's a technology agnostic protocol.
Yes,
We
yes,
can run.
yes.
Okay, sounds good. Any other
Okay.
questions in the comments? Yeah, yeah. Please go ahead, Ashok. Yeah.
So there is a one limitation, as I mentioned. There is a one limitation for the scheme. Scheme how to develop by SaaS SaaS partners, not by the employee, that whatever the who are using the SaaS application. Only that one of the limitation we have. So nowadays, like all the overcoming as a enterprise SaaS application, they are looking into this particular option so that they can support the number of organization. So it's easy to onboard any organization.
Okay, what you're mentioning is that for any SaaS, this is one of the selling point for them to go to any enterprise and say that you don't need to manage any of your users
Yes,
separately.
yes,
Whenever you
yes,
put your application, whenever you try to pitch your sale, and then IT might groan saying that, okay, I don't want another application that I or the
yes,
licenses that I have to manage. Okay,
yes,
sounds
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, sounds right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is there any downside of SCIM adoption? Is one of the questions we again have from the comments.
Uh, Downside right now we are not able to see any downside. It's just a top of whatever the identity management we have. Okay, if we wanted to include that into your system, we can use it. If it is not that if it is not a useful for our system, then we can. ignore that part. There is no
Mm.
downside I can see right now. Yeah.
If I understand correctly, the downside is the complexity.
Yeah.
So it's bit complex than the traditional IAM that you are
No, no,
doing it.
it's a very simple configuration as I mentioned previously.
Mm-hmm.
They providing a 3 to 4 rules for us to provide us your own system. Okay. Okay, you provide your own system, then you can integrate that into any of the major supporters, like example, Azure AD, okay, Okta, like that, we can go with anyone. It's a simple architecture they have. There is no complexity, a simple integration and open source.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good. Any other comments? We are opening up the Q&A. I know we have time.
Yeah. Let me see if I can add more add-ons to you. The main benefit with the scheme is like automatically the user management is happening. So it will reduce the cost of organization, the time, okay, whatever the
Mhm.
SaaS platform, that whatever the spending time on that particular part, that will reduce. Okay. It will be like very easily we can automate it and the users will be consistent across the platform. That those things I can see as a very benefit for any of the organization who is trying to use the SaaS platforms.
Yeah. Benefit for
Mm,
the organizations in
yes,
terms of managing the users and benefit
yes,
for the
yeah.
SaaS to onboard the users.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Good.
And
Good.
one more point I will say, I will tell like if we look for if you want to add on the top of skill with the SSO, okay, then there is no validation for you have to fill the data to enter the user data or what. Directly we can connect with the SSO with the skill as identity provider. So that will be directly synced with the user management.
Sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. If there are no more questions, I think we can wrap up the session here. But
yeah.
thanks again. Thanks for everyone for jumping in. When we end the session, it doesn't mean that you can't ask the questions. You can
Yes,
always
yes,
post your questions in the comments. You can send out the email.
yeah,
We're all available on LinkedIn. And please do let us know your feedback. Or
yeah.
if you are curious to know any other topics related to any other technologies or frameworks or the tools, please do mention that in the comments as well as send out an emails. We are very happy to uh, pick it up as a priority for our next webinar. Thank you so
Yeah,
much. And we are anticipating the next webinar would be on November 12th.
yeah,
The invites will be sent out soon.
yeah.
Please keep an eye on our LinkedIn page as well as the YouTube channel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.